It's 6 o'clock, and so we're going to get started. Hopefully some more people will show up. This is John Fales.
Nice to meet you.
He is the Republican chair for Woods County, and I am the Democratic chair, and I'm Lenny Reed, if you don't know who I am, but I think I know almost everybody here. And we'd like to thank you for coming and showing interest in the Woods County community. Our two candidates are Mr. McCullough and Mr. Dale. They are running for the office of county sheriff. Both have law enforcement credentials. One, Mr. Dale is presently the assistant deputy sheriff for Woods County. And Mr. McCullough is a retired highway patrolman. This is your first question. Okay. Maybe I should give instructions first. I will ask my question and then open the floor for you all to ask pertinent questions. Please do not use this as an attack or anything else like that on the candidates, because with John's assistance, cross fingers, I would like to see more of these events held. Absolutely. Between the two parties. Okay? And even though we may disagree on several things, this is something we can come together on. I would like you two to try to keep your answers short, like 2 to 3 minutes max. And I will try my best, and I think they will try their best to have us out of here before 7 so we can go see that other little debate that's happening tonight. I'm confused, which is unusual. ABC is starting their coverage at 7 o'clock. PBS is starting their coverage at 8 o'clock. So I don't know if they're going to have an hour program of talking heads before the debate starts, but everything I've been told, the debate is starting at 8 o'clock in Philadelphia, which would be 7 o'clock our time. So,
I did hear it starts at 8 Central.
Oh, really?
Got here.
Yeah, it's 8 Central.
Yeah.
8 Central. Okay, well, there's several heads that are agreeing with you.
Because it was 9 Eastern.
Yeah. So please, we will try to get us out of here so that we can go. If it starts at 8, we don't have to sit strictly with the deadline of 7 o'clock. Okay. Your first question. Please give us some background about yourself, why you are running, and what are your goals if you get elected.
Well, I'll kind of introduce myself and kind of tell you how I got into law enforcement to start with. And you know, you gave me 2 minutes, and I may not be able to do this in 2 minutes, but I will try to hurry. So, I, right out of high school, worked on cars, loved working on cars, got laid off because of an industry, and I went back to school for engineering. Never, ever thought of ever being in law enforcement. While I was in college, I met a few officers and rode with a few of them, and they asked me about being a reserve officer. So I became a reserve officer for Tonkwall PD, and a little bit working on reserve, I really enjoyed it. It was just, to me, it seemed like natural, but we got to help people. Within the next year, they had a full-time opening, so I applied for that and became a full-time officer in early 96. And so, but 95 is when I was reserve, 96 is full-time. After about a year and a half being at the police department, really enjoyed my job, but there were some illegal activities going on in Tonkwall. There was a large pyramid scheme that was going on at the time. And I walked in on the chief and the assistant chief and involved in that pyramid scheme. Knowing and being low man on the totem pole, I was like, what do I do? I don't know. I put the statute on the bulletin board to make it clear that it was against the law and what they were doing, and they were actually in a commission of a felony because they were planning and enticing somebody else to be involved in that. So I stood up to that, but I also talked with the district attorney's investigator, who's a friend that I knew and thought I could trust. And he told me, oh, the district attorney's office isn't going to do anything. They're going to do a cease and desist letter and kind of just let everything lay where it is and leave it as a civil matter. So those that got lost $2,000 could sue the person. So, but because of that, they knew I talked to the district attorney's office. At that point, they were looking at anything and everything I could do to do wrong, to try to take punishment against me and retaliate. That's when a state trooper who very close to me, who actually started at Alva PD quite a few years ago, Mark Cranford, he came to me, he hands me an application and says, we respect what you did, how you stood up to this. We want you to go to the Highway Patrol. We admired you, and we think you got what it takes. Because you've got to get out of here because it's going to get bad for you. So I applied for the patrol, and that's how I got on the Highway Patrol. Was on the patrol for about 4 years. First assigned Pawnee County, back to K County. Yes, that's where my wife was at. We're there at Tonkwall. And so another pivotal moment there was a fire department building a rescue truck and a major crimes unit, major crimes unit involving Highway Patrol, Sheriff's Department, Police Departments, all in one lump sum. And they had a car that was seized from a drug dealer that was used undercover, went back to the impound lot with surplus equipment still left in it, getting ready to go to auction. I knew a volunteer fire department that was equipping a rescue truck, and they were just rounding up parts from everywhere. Well, I knew there was the surplus equipment in it. I pulled that equipment and gave it to the fire department. A week later, I hear they're investigating the record driver in the impound lot for stealing his equipment. And I called him up and I said, hey, he didn't steal anything. It was surplus. I gave it to them. My understanding that it was getting ready to get auctioned off. Well, because of that, the same district attorney's office that swept the pyramid scheme information kind of under the rug filed charges on me. First, they made a complaint with the patrol, and I was suspended for 20 days on the ground and transferred to Woods County. So that also brings me to how I got to Woods County. So, same district attorney's office that, like I said, swept the other under the rug, filed charges on me. Over a year period, it went to court, it was dismissed, they appealed it, the appeal was dismissed, they brought it back to court a third time, and it was dismissed. And for a misunderstanding over equipment that was surplus that was trying to help out the fire department. So, that being said, that was a pivotal moment or a defining moment in my law enforcement career, because I saw how some officers were treated, and then also how officers were, what's the word? They tried to make an example out of me, and probably retribution for several years prior when I was there. Can I prove that? No, I can't. But I moved on, left that behind. But that moment was a defining moment in my law enforcement career, because I learned things that when I arrested people, what the process was and everything else, but also I learned how never to treat anybody, whether it's a violator on the side of the road or an investigation, is to always treat that person fair, be honest. My job is to find the truth, not to embellish the truth or to add or twist it to make it a fit narrative, which is what they did on mine. And like I said, again, ultimately mine was dismissed. And but out of that, I ended up transferred to Woods County. Did not plan to stay here. I planned on moving back after a year or two, or to another location back to the eastern part of here. But unfortunately, people in Woods County are awesome, and they made this our home. We didn't stay to make this our home. They made this our home. They took us in, and we just fell in love with the place, and we've been here 22 years now. So out of that, I guess that's kind of where I got to where I'm at now, retired, and to running for sheriff. What I want to see is community relations. When I first moved here, people at Freedom hated troopers because they never saw us except for Freedom Rodeo, and we just came out there to arrest people. Other than that, they didn't see them any time of the year. Over probably within 10 years of being here, I flipped that around. When I went to town, people asked me to sit down at the table with them and eat and everything else. And I built that relationship, and I want to bring that. I do that here. I've got connections, quite a few of the communities around since we've worked multiple counties. But the patrol kind of takes you further and further away from here more and more, and I like to work for the people in my community. That's why I want to run for sheriff and bring that community relations to that and build a little bit more. And we can get into why that may be in some questions.
Thank you. Mr. Dale?
Well, my name is Keith Dale, and I'm running for sheriff of Woods County. So my family moved here when I was 5 years old. This has been my home ever since, except for a brief time where I moved away and worked down in Oklahoma City for 3 years. I went all throughout the schools here, from T1 all the way through college, where I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and a minor in Spanish. I have 2 kids. They both go to school here in Alva, Hunter and Colt. One's 10, one's 7. Great kids, love them to death. They're by far the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm deeply rooted in Woods County, in Alva. I attend a lifelong resident, or a lifelong member of the First Baptist Church in Alva. I'm also a member of the Alva Gold Bug Education Foundation, where I sit on the board there. I started in law enforcement in 2001 as a reserve jailer for the Woods County Sheriff's Office, which is a free position. And I've held every position the Sheriff's Office has to allow, with the exception of sheriff. And I'm currently the under sheriff and have been for 10 years. Over 10 years, I guess. Part of my duties as under sheriff is I'm also the jail administrator, which I've held that title as well since I became under sheriff. I'm tasked with helping develop the budget and to work within that budget so we don't overspend. I'm also an investigator. I've investigated a variety of crimes. Pretty much any crime that you can think of, I've either investigated it or I've been the lead investigator or assisted the investigations. I have an advanced cleat certification, and over 1,200 hours of continuing education. I am a little nervous. I apologize. I'm not a public speaker, and I'm definitely not a politician. I'm a law enforcement officer, and that's all I've ever wanted to be. When I moved down to Oklahoma City, I worked for the Oklahoma County Juvenile Bureau, where I worked with kids with drug and alcohol issues, and also that were involved in gangs. From there, I found that that's what I really like to do. I like to work with kids. I like to help people change their lives. So I came back here. I started working narcotics investigations. I have since moved into a lot of child sex crimes and child abuse cases. I am one of 2 forensic interviewers in the county, which a forensic interviewer specializes in interviewing kids. I'm also part of the multidisciplinary child abuse team, which is a team of law enforcement, DHS, doctors, that anyone that works a child abuse case, we meet once a month, we staff cases, and we go through cases where somebody might need help or guidance in one way or another. Through my time here at the Sheriff's Office, which is about 20 years total, I really came to know what the citizens of Woods County expect from their law enforcement. I think I am pretty in tune with their wants and needs in each community, and each community is a little bit different. As far as what I want to do with the Sheriff's Office, if I'm elected sheriff, is we have In the past, we have been an investigative agency. There is a kind of a trend now where a lot of deputies just want to work traffic when we have a lot of other crimes going on through the county, like thefts and narcotics distribution and sex crimes and things like that. And I would really like to steer our deputies back to doing investigations and back to solving crimes such as those thefts and things like that. I'd like to do that by providing them with the best training that we possibly can. I don't have to be the best sheriff if I can build the best team around me, and that's what I'd really like to do to each deputy. Provide them with the training that they need to do that. One thing also I'd like to do is, several years ago, we had an office in Freedom, Oklahoma. That office, we were short-staffed and we weren't able to man that office. We now have 7 employees, and I'd love to open that office back up. Also, Freedom is the only school that does not have a law enforcement in their school. I can't say that we would have a dedicated full-time officer in that school, but if we had an office out there that could be manned, that deputy that was in that office from whatever day he's there could also swing through the schools. So help provide protection for Freedom as well. I know there's going to be some questions, and I welcome those, and I think I answered your question.
Thank you. Okay, opening it to the floor. Anybody have a question?
Well, that was quick. What's a big topic on what they want to do in the future?
Ms. Horn?
I'm just going to say, what are the problems you want to address to both candidates?
So, one thing I see is our sheriff's department is reactive. When a crime happens, they go investigate it. What we can be is more proactive. Proactive is we're going out, we're being seen. Traffic, I want to disagree with him on that. We need more traffic because traffic is a problem. I've been going door to door, and that's several people have asked me, what are you going to do about people speeding through down our road in our community? The highway patrol is supposed to have 3 people here. We have 1, and he's off on medical leave right now. If nobody's working traffic, accidents are going to go skyrocket. And we can, as a sheriff's department as a whole, it needs to be well-rounded and balanced in everything. We can't just focus on just certain investigations. You have to work traffic. You have to investigate those crimes. You have to patrol and be proactive, be seen to prevent those crimes. Number 1 deterrent for crimes is being visible. If we get out and about more, we can do that. Not only that, when you work traffic, somebody that especially a rural crime, they don't walk to that place that they break into or whatever crime they commit. They drive there. When we're out stopping, we catch criminals all the time. They're driving down the highway. We catch them as they're hauling drugs into our communities. So yes, we need more, not more, but they need to be very active in that because we can't be just investigating all the time. But being more visible and being more proactive. We need to build public relations. Let's be a little bit more transparent. That's why I told you the story about how I got to where I was at and how charges filed against me. Some people would say, oh, you wouldn't want to know about that. But that's nothing I'm ashamed of. It's something that happened to me, but it was a work of God that He brought me here because time and time again, He has put me in a position and used me that I can't explain any other way than it was a work of God. So definitely more proactive. Like I said, when we're more proactive, we can reduce crimes. And then the ones that we do have to investigate, we can spend more time and do a better quality investigation. So.
Mr. Dale?
Would you repeat your question, please? I'm sorry.
Just really, what are the problems you want to address?
So, I would disagree with Mr. McCall. I believe the sheriff's office is proactive. We have, Woods County is roughly 1,200 square miles. Obviously, we can't be everywhere at once. We try to have the office manned more hours of the day than we don't. There is a time period that I would not feel comfortable saying that someone is just on call. It's a very few hours of the day, but our deputies are all working 40-plus hours a week. We're as proactive as we possibly can be. We do work traffic occasionally when we're not doing something else. We do have deputies working traffic. I agree, I think traffic is a necessary part of law enforcement, but I don't think it should be the only focus of law enforcement. There are a ton of other things going on besides a speeding car. Also, Winoka has a police department and Alva has a police department, and we do have the Highway Patrol in Woods County, and we're grateful for all of those agencies that help do traffic and investigations and things like that in their respective jurisdictions. But where the large part of the community or the county is rural, I do believe that investigations are very important. I don't disagree that I think that having someone out driving around is a great deterrent to law enforcement or to crimes, which is why we do have deputies that patrol that are looking for crimes in progress, that are looking for things to do to investigate, but also running traffic as well. But I would like to see the sheriff's office go back to a more investigative agency where we can solve the crimes where there are people that are losing trailers, or their houses are getting broken into, or their cars are getting stolen, or somebody has been a victim of sexual assault or domestic violence or things like that. I think a lot of that stuff, like I said, with the younger generation of officers, that has been lost, for lack of a better way to describe it. And I would really like to see that be the focus of the sheriff's office. Also, we are a sheriff's office, not a department. The sheriff is elected, departments are appointed. As being elected, you know, that is a vote of the people, and that is something that was always pounded into my head, that we're an office and not a department, and that we work for the people. So I just wanted to make sure and clarify that.
Next question. We don't bite.
Do you plan on hiring more officers? You said there's 7 and they're working 40-plus hours. And there's times when the office is not manned. I mean.
So obviously we have to work within a budget. We do have 7. There are roughly, I would say 3.5 hours a day the sheriff's office is not. There's not a deputy on patrol, but there is always somebody on call. I would love to hire one more person. I would have to work with the commissioners and the excise board and things like that to come up with the funding for that. Is that out of that's not impossible to do. It's just we have to show the need. We have to show that we can have the money to support a new deputy as well.
So on that, I'm data driven on what I do. You would have to look at the call log, the call volume, hours. If we have a bunch of deputies are obtaining a bunch of comp time because they're out, then we can justify where is the savings. We have to look at that. The sheriff's department has had a reserve program in the past. I don't know of any reserves. There may be 1 or 2 now. I would like to revamp that so we can have some more help. People help take those calls when they're not, or when there's not a full-time available. So yes, but then again, you're working within those constraints of the budget. But with the data that you obtain, what's the volumes, what's, like I said, can we justify it? Yes, I would like more, but again.
Mr. Chafee?
I talked to Randy at the fair, and he said that if, he is data driven, so if he looked at the circumstances and decided that we did and could afford another officer, he would like to station one in Freedom, actually live, an officer, hire an officer that would live in Freedom. Mr. Dale, would you be in favor of that?
Absolutely. We have looked for officers or deputies to live in Freedom. In fact, while I've been out campaigning, I spoke with a gentleman that is interested in being in reserve while he's out there. To my knowledge, I don't think I can, as a sheriff can require someone to live in freedom. I think I can encourage that, but I don't think I can make it a requirement. I don't believe so, I guess. I've never found anything that says I can do that. I would love to have a deputy in Freedom that lived there full-time, and that's something that I would definitely like to work for. And I've also spoke with several residents of Freedom who have offered assistance or offered even free housing if somebody would like to move out there. But just finding that person that would like to move to Freedom, being as it is very remote, that is an obstacle. But it's not something that couldn't be achieved, I don't think.
Ms. Horn?
All right. There's a great book called Corruptible by Brian Klaas that talks about how what you ask for in someone yields your result. And he talked about a place, I think it was in Alaska, but the only people that would apply for law enforcement were the law breakers. Because what they saw as their benefit was what they saw as law breakers. So what are you offering to the people that you want to employ that would make them be very civic-minded and very uncorruptible?
It's kind of a complex question. So, when I got into law enforcement, like I said, I wasn't intending to that. It just, but it fit. It was rewarding because I got to help people. There's plenty of guys out there that, or shouldn't say guys, women, me too, people that would love to work in law enforcement. I talked to one door to door today that was working at the prison. He wants to get into law enforcement, and what's the options and the routes that he could do to that. One thing we struggle here is keeping officers, because you get a good officer, they can move on to another agency that pays a lot more. That's to keep them. We could possibly work on trying to get paid more. But first off is leading by example. Being a servant leadership, and we set an example for the others. I've worked for an agency where there was corruption in there, and it really disappointed me. But I've also worked for the Highway Patrol where they hold high standards, and that was really rewarding. And to hold those high standards and set those standards myself, and to keep those standards myself, but also keep that for my deputies. I think we can keep them longer because they're getting, yes, the pay increase would help, but knowing that they're making a difference, I think it's easier to keep them. But again, overseeing them and holding to them to that higher standard, I think that may answer your question.
And I would agree with Mr. McCullough. I do think that leading by example is a great way to teach the younger generation of deputies or officers how to do their job adequately. As far as pay goes, we did get we have applied for a grant to up not the salaries, but to provide bonuses to deputies to try to retain them longer. I think the longer we can retain an officer or a deputy in Woods County, gives them more, if they're not from here, it gives them more of a sense of being home and them wanting to do the right thing all the time and wanting to help people and go above and beyond to help the citizens.
Quick question on that. What are the bonuses for?
So the sheriff's salary grant is a $250,000 grant from the state of Oklahoma. It is initially was designed for salaries. However, it has since gone to a sheriff assistance grant, which allows some of the money or all of the money in some agencies to be used for bonuses for the deputies to try to retain them so that we don't lose them to a higher paying agency. We have applied for that. There are several things we want to do with that $250,000, not just that benefits the deputies, but as far as salary-wise, but, you know, update some equipment, add some additional body cameras and in-car cameras, but as well as spend roughly $60,000 to update the surveillance cameras in the courthouse, which would benefit all the employees of the courthouse and the public as well.
Carlene?
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
answer,
understanding
just a second.
Oh.
On that, there were two bills this last year. One was for, they were very similar. One was to pay, a grant to pay for salaries, to increase pay across the state. And there were requirements, you had to pay deputies a certain amount, or the sheriff a certain amount, or you didn't qualify. The other one was for operating expense, so that they saves the county of, hopefully, whether the county commissioners can get them a raise or not. They had some exceptions to that. There, again, you've got $250,000 for our county. Other counties went up, depending on their call volume and the population, depending on what level you're at. But that money can be used for bonuses. The question is, do we give a bonus just across the board? Do we keep an officer that's not working as much and not doing as much as a guy that's really out here working his tail off, and give them the same bonuses? I would have to disagree with that. We can use that money for overtime, because currently they get comp time and they do not get, where other county employees get overtime. They were on straight salary. If they work over, they get comp time, and hopefully they can take the vacation off, but they're shorthanded, they can't do it. So you are paying for overtime, and that would be a more prudent way of spending that money versus straight across the board, because then you can be rewarding somebody that's not doing that much.
So I do have a
No, sir.
follow-up for you.
My
When you
follow-up.
talk about someone working their tail off, are you just talking about writing tickets, or
It could
what are you
be,
talking about?
they could be out working traffic, they could be arresting DUIs, they can be stopping, whether, like I said, we're on traffic right there, but they could be arresting somebody that's hauling drugs in. They still take every call besides that. Then they go out and serve civil papers for the court and other court papers, because they're an officer of the court. Whereas one guy may come in, he just may go take his call that comes in, and then he can sit in the office and drink coffee, wait and take the next call, go check on something. The difference is somebody that's taken initiative, and whether it's traffic or investigating a drug case or whatever, taking that initiative and going out and not just waiting for that in. So do we reward both of them, or the one that's taking initiative to going out? And again, somebody could kind of milk the system because, oh, I just stay out a little bit late and write down comp time, but that needs to be monitored and overseen, because that goes back to integrity, and it needs to be monitored.
May I also comment on that? First of all, this is brand new, the idea of paying comp time and overtime for deputies. This did not come about until the Sheriff's Assistance Grant came into being passed. I am the undersheriff. I know the policies of the Sheriff's Office. I helped write those policies for the Sheriff's Office. We do pay comp, we do have comp time. We are planning to pay out overtime twice a year, if the money's available, which we expect it to be. There are things in place, so if you do have a deputy that's out there working all the time, and he's doing a great job, and he is, fantastic at doing what he's doing, that deputy will receive a bonus. We do have measures in place to, if a deputy is not meeting the expectations, their bonus might not be as much. For the initial bonus that we're going to give out hopefully this year, there are requirements that a deputy has to meet to receive that bonus. So I understand that Mr. McCullough is not in the Sheriff's Office, so he does not understand maybe what our policies are right now, but we do have things, measures in place to make sure that it is not just across the board. Everybody gets it, no matter if you do the very best or the least amount at all. So.
Ms. White?
Well, he really kind of answered my question. I was wanting to know specifically how you earn that bonus, and, you know, so I heard somewhat like, but, you know, I just thought, what do you have to do specifically to earn the bonus? And if it's, I don't know, extra time, comp time, or whatever, you know, they kind of told me what it is, but, no.
Another topic on that is, the other thing is, could you pay a stipend out of that? I don't know, we'd have to look at that, because that would be a option to pay somebody a stipend if they live in.
I just didn't know if there was a
Freedom or-
list that said, if you're gonna
Right.
do this, this, and this, you're gonna earn this. You know, I wondered how you earn it. And, you know, I just saw this story on the computer the other day, and it was about a man that was a fireman on 9/11. He was going to a golf game and saw the fire trucks going, and he turned around and went, and of course he died. He never was seen again. But that's the kind of thing I'm thinking, extra and above the call of duty, because it was his day off, but he died, you know. And I'm thinking, you know, what exactly do you have to do to earn those extra stipends or whatever? But that's in the sheriff's department.
It's at the discretion of the sheriff, and the undersheriff is how
Okay.
actually the sheriff, I think is how it reads. What bonuses somebody might get, and what they need to do to meet the requirements to get that bonus.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
But it is just a grant, and you're not guaranteed to get that grant year after year.
Correct.
And if you have 7 deputies in that office, what are those 7 deputies doing? If you only have 1,200 square miles to patrol, what are those deputies doing?
When they're on
Because
duty.
most of the time,
When they're
you
on
go
duty.
into the office, there's 3 or 4 of them sitting in the office. Why is the sheriff or the undersheriff not maintaining that office? Basically, why is your deputies there during business hours?
Right. So, I feel like, and I'll answer that question, I have no problem answering that. I feel like we're getting into more of the policies of the sheriff's office right now than we are about a sheriff's campaign, but I'll be glad to answer your questions.
I think it's a big part of the campaign. Is that not a big part of this?
Which is why I'll answer it. Our deputies not only patrol as a sheriff's deputy, they have crimes to respond to, patrolling, things like that. We also are responsible for the jail, which is the county's biggest liability.
Do you not have jailers?
We do, but our jailers also are limited in the acts that they can perform. We also are responsible for courthouse security. We're also responsible for transporting inmates to and from medical appointments from other jurisdictions. If they get arrested somewhere else, we have to bring them back to Woods County.
And we do that with 2, and we cover 854 square miles, and you have 7.
Not all 7 are working at the same time.
I understand that.
So the sheriff and undersheriff both have administrative duties, whether it's writing grants, whether it is researching policy, whether it is investigating crimes. A large time I know I spend writing reports. So there are things that are being done. Are there downtimes where there's a deputy sitting in the office or 2 deputies sitting in the office? 100% absolutely, I agree. But when you walk into the sheriff's office and you see 2 deputies sitting there or 3 deputies sitting there, you don't know what that deputy just got done doing. And you understand that because you work for a sheriff's office, correct?
I do.
Okay. So just because you see them at that one point, sitting in that office, drinking a cup of coffee or talking about something else, doesn't mean that they didn't just get off of something else.
And I
we're
understand.
coming back to talk about that.
But
So,
you have 7 people working different shifts,
correct.
but you always have a bunch sitting in the courthouse.
I would just,
Why are your deputies, if you're working day shift, why are your deputies not out patrolling the street and taking care of all the communities when the sheriff and undersheriff should be taking care of things from normal business hours from 8 to 5? Your jail administrator should be taking care of your jail and watching over your jailers. How come your people are not out on the street working?
so every day, we do have a deputy that is scheduled to actually be in the office. That's his job. It's the office deputy. So there is going to be a sheriff and an undersheriff and at least 1 deputy in the office.
At all times?
It's designed to be like that at all times.
At all times.
Okay, so like I said, if there's another deputy in there, maybe they're just coming on shift, maybe they're fixing to go home, maybe they just got done with something on their back, maybe they just transported the inmate and they came back. I mean, there's a variety of reasons why there could be multiple deputies in the office, and I can't explain to you on every day why there's more than one person in there, and why there's 2 or 3 people in there. Like I said, I mean, there's a variety of reasons why that could happen.
Now, for my response to that would be, we have 7, well, including the sheriff, there are, and 6 deputies. We have 5 marked pickups. If, as a sheriff, my vehicle will be marked, everyone below me will have a marked vehicle. I will be out as much as I can, because that's part of my job, is the public relations. How can I set an example for them and wanting them to go out into that community if I'm not setting that deal? If the policy is that you have to have so many in there at a certain time, the sheriff can change that policy. That's his agency or his office. So that policy could be changed. I don't plan on sitting behind a desk. That is not, and every vehicle has a computer in it now and all your equipment. I've worked in my office on wheels for 26 years. Occasionally, yes, you do have to go in and sit down and type up, turn paperwork in, yes. But to be visible, again, number 1 deterrent of crime is being visible. We're not very visible sitting at the courthouse other than for the courthouse. And yes, you do need a deputy in there during court hours and everything else because of that. But can you have one person designated as an office deputy for a period of time and everybody else out working? Yes.
Janet, did you have a follow-up?
No, it's kind of been answered. I was wondering about, when they're
Laura?
not doing something, what are they?
Thank you. Laura?
How do you plan to build public relations for both?
For both, just both those?
For both the and the community? How do you?
Again, I've done that in Freedom and here, just say somebody's new, or they're just traveling through. Their first impression of our community is a lot of times it's law enforcement, because we either stop them or we can make an impression on them. Same way when we take a call and how we deal with that. When we get called to a domestic situation, we can de-escalate and build a rapport with that person. For instance, years ago, I had an individual here that lived here, stopped him on traffic stop, but also had to deal with him several other times. By giving him respect, I earn respect, I guess you would say. But when you start building that relationships with everybody in your communities, get to know them, go to events, go to ball games, go drink coffee in the morning at a coffee shop instead of at the sheriff's department, you get to know those people. I do that now. That's probably the first thing I do in the morning unless I've got a call, is go somewhere and drink coffee, whether it's Capron or Tacoma or Alva, wherever. You get to know those people around you. When you do that, like I said, you start building that relationship with that person. It's not your best friends or anything, but now that you know them, when they're involved in something, they really don't want to disappoint you. For example, the individual I was talking about earlier, traffic stop deal, had several contacts with him. One night, he was very intoxicated. He was trying to leave. Granddaughter won't let him have the keys. They get in a big argument, screaming. The police department was called. They had one officer on. I'm just outside of town. I hear them going to a domestic, so I go to back them up, which the Highway Patrol does regularly, backs up county, police department, what other agencies. The officer gets there and he wants to leave, and he's like, no, you need to go in and sleep it off. Well, now it's just a big argument stuff. Instead of de-escalating it, it's like, wait a second. And I know the individual, I call him by name, I'm like, what do you want? There's a reason you're leaving, what do you want? He goes, I just need a cigarette. Okay, well that's simple enough. How can I help you? Get in my car, I take you to the store. You're not driving? We get cigarettes, we bring back, he is happy as can be, no more problems. I run into him later on, he's intoxicated, or not intoxicated, I'll take it back. He had been drinking, but he had wrecked his pickup. It was a little late, and intoxication, or the amount of alcohol is coming down when I get there, due field sobriety, I don't have enough to arrest him. But I have a long talk with him, like, you've got to quit this. You're going to get yourself killed, you're going to kill somebody else. And just being personable with him. It's probably several other times I run into him, check, hey, how you doing? Making sure you're doing, staying sober or not drinking as much, yes, whatever. One night I'm sitting at the sheriff's department doing paperwork because I just arrested an individual. There's a knock at the back door. Oh, wow, what's that? I wasn't thinking about Mike. But I go to the back door, there he is. He is very intoxicated. His truck is parked in the parking lot. And he's like, you've been telling me not to drink and drive. I saw your car. I'm turning myself in because I know I'm not supposed to do it, but I built that relationship over time. We can do that, and because of the way we treat people. It doesn't matter what background, what ethnicity, what color your skin. We treat everybody the same, and we treat everybody with respect and dignity. Even if you're the drug dealer that's been dealing drugs, we still treat you with respect when we bring you into the jail. There are times, yes, we have to be a little more aggressive because they want to fight. Some people, I've been called every name in the book by somebody I know because they're intoxicated, and the jailer's like, are you going to allow that? He's drunk. He doesn't mean it. The next morning, if he remembers it, he's probably going to apologize. If not, it's like water on a duck's back. I'm not worried about it because he's going to be a different person tomorrow. So we start building those relationships by the way we treat people, and then getting out, doing events, and just being.
Mr. Dale, to respond?
Yes. So we can build public relations by joining other civic organizations that do things and getting out in the community, not only on duty but also off. I would encourage the deputies or any law enforcement officer to be a member of another civic organization. So maybe people see them not only as a law enforcement officer but also as a person where they're able to go out and do things. One of the things that I have new deputies do now that we train is I give them places to go in the rural part of the counties to meet people that might not see law. They don't live on the highways, they don't live in town, they can live way out in the middle of nowhere. But I say, go meet this person, go shake their hand. Sometimes I say, take a picture with them and send it to me so I know they actually went and did it. So the people that might not get to see law enforcement are getting to meet the new deputies, as well as the new deputies are getting to learn the roads and meet people that they're not going to see every day. Other things that we can do, I coach when my kids play sports. I try to coach or help coach their teams. I think that's great. You get to know the little kids as well as the parents. And also just being present in the community, being out there, going to your parades, going to events. And when you're at those events, not just driving around, not talking to people. Or if you are just patrolling, stopping and talking to a farmer that's building a fence, give them a bottle of water, do something like that. But just getting out, being seen, meeting people, and being active in the communities.
Adam? Anyone else? I have a comment to make about we were talking about bonuses and things. Ms. White and I are retired teachers. There may be others in the room. But when that idea hit the schools, we were given a list of things. And if you got all this, you got a big bonus payment. I couldn't find how to get politics out of it because the people that were closest to the principal, they got the most, and those that were not as close didn't. And they thought they had a sound system put in place. And it really ended cooperation between individual teachers.
And if I could comment on it, I'm sure where this is the first year that we've done that, I'm sure there will be changes. I'm not saying that the way we're doing it this year is where we're gonna do it next year or the year after. Where this is something brand new, it's never been done before. We're learning, I learn every day. I'm sure as teachers, you guys understand that. So there will be things that could change and most likely will change as, if this money becomes available for an extended period of time.
But do you not think, if you give out said bonuses to individuals, do you not think that after that is over with, those deputies are gonna move to other counties to higher paying positions? Could you not see a better way of spending that where the deputies don't just rely on that money? I mean,
We've instructed the deputies, if we get this grant this year, which it hasn't been awarded yet, this could be a one-time payment. Don't rely on it. This
Oh, I
could be,
know.
this could be something that goes on for years to come. Don't rely on it. Do I hope that they stay? Yes. I mean, have we had deputies who've been offered higher paying jobs and stayed because they like Woods County, they love Woods County? Yes, we have. I can't predict the future, but all I know is right now, we have a very good group of guys that work for us, and girls as jailers, and some female jailers. And we want to retain them for as long as we can. If next year the money goes away, all I can say is we did the best we could to retain the current staff that we have now. I'll never fault someone for leaving the sheriff's office for a better or higher paying job, but unfortunately, sometimes we can't compete with the highway patrol. You know, we have to do the best we can do now to compete, to retain the officers that we've invested thousands of dollars in training and keep them here as long as we can.
Any other questions? Now, Adam.
I actually have two, because I feel there was a little segregation there, talking about deputies and female jailers, because doesn't the sheriff's office have a female deputy now?
You're right, we do. Sorry.
And then my other question would be, on the new deputies going out to wherever, to meet somebody out in the middle of the county or wherever, to take a picture and send back to prove that. If they're going out there by themselves, they're in a vehicle, all kinds of equipment, gun on their hip, under the certain circumstances could take a human life to a degree. They gotta send a picture to prove they did something.
It's more of a way for them to show that they were there. I did have a couple deputies that took a picture of their house when they drive by. Proving that they're there, that they're meeting these people, it's not like they're distrusted. It's just kind of something fun to do. Take a picture with them, whatever. Our deputies we don't just, I think you're trying to imply that they're just kicked out without any training or anything like that. 100% could not be further from the truth. Our deputies are trained. They don't go out by themselves until we feel comfortable knowing that if a situation arises, they can handle it.
Any other questions?
Can I address, since you were talking about teachers, and that brought up a question that I was asked this past week with the recent Georgia shooting about firearms and school shootings. First off is we do train statewide, all law enforcement have to be trained in school shooting responses. But if we want to look at that, and this is my response to that, what are we going to do is with school shootings and stuff like that. They started taking statistics in around 2000 because that's when they started realizing, hey, we got a problem. From 2000 to 2022, we got a 22-year period, and that's the statistics that I'm working with. In that 22-year period, there were 682, somewhere around there, maybe a few more, school shootings in that 20 years. And you think that's staggering. There were 515 deaths in that 22-year period. And then another 11 to 1,200 that were injured. You think that's staggering. It is, and I'm not saying it is. But you take that 515 number, multiply it times 4. 2,060 kids in that same time period from 2000 to 2022. That is the number of kids from 5 to 12 pre-teen-age kids, 2,060 that committed suicide. You think that number is staggering? Take that number, multiply it times 20. We're at 41,200, and that number is low. You get to 45,000 on up to about 47,000 in that time period of kids 10 to 19 that have committed suicide. 78% of those are hanging. 18% involve firearms, and the majority of those were handguns. Now, out of that number also, 70 or about 80, I can't remember the exact number, is that 80 to 90% of them, the suicides happen in the home. And 50% of those that happen in the home were while the parents were at the house at the time. So if we start looking at staggering numbers, that's just outrageous. We have a problem. If we start to address those issues, we will start seeing school shootings go down. Because I'm not making light of the 515, but we've got 45 to 47,000 in that 20-year period. That's 20 something or 2,000 some each year that commit suicide. That's an issue that has happened right here in our community more than once. That's an issue that we have to address. Can the sheriff's department do that by themselves? No, but we can help. We can start working with other organizations, and it means every hand on deck, whether it's a church or a Northwest Behavioral Health, Northwest Family Services. What can people bring to the table that we can start making a difference? We address that, then we're going to get the school shootings, those numbers are going to start going down, because we've got a bigger problem, and it's a mental health problem that has to be addressed.
Can I comment on that too?
Yes.
Definitely, suicide and mental health is something that plagues not just Woods County and not just state of Oklahoma, but probably nationwide. Every sheriff's unit has a iPad in there that is solely dedicated to, I can hand the iPad to anybody, they press the red button on there and it calls Northwest Center for Behavioral Health. That is something that's paid for by them, that they gave to us, and we carry them and we use them quite a bit. So we do go to a mental health crisis, we're able to intervene, we're able to get that person to talk to somebody on the iPad and then make a determination. Someone on the iPad makes a determination if that person needs further mental help, or if they need to go inpatient, or follow up with them the next day. We have a very close relationship currently working with our mental health providers, from Northwest Family Services to Northwest Center for Behavioral Health, to even our local hospital. Also, we work closely with DHS. If there's something that we go to a house to investigate and there is a mental health issue or there is some other kind of issue, we do make referrals at DHS as well to try to get people help with those issues, to try to reduce any type of suicide, whether it is an adult or whether it is a kid.
Thank you. Yes, Ms.
I hate to be the one that drags this on, but do we have training for people who are dealing with mental health issues rather than crimes?
CLEAP, the state mandate CLEAP requires mental health, but it's only an hour or 2 hours every year. And it covers such a broad spectrum, from somebody that has, could be part of it, substance abuse, and that plays in with some of the mental health, to an individual with autism. It is such a broad area, but there are more, there are a lot of other classes available. That might be a question for Adam, if what they could bring to the Northwest Tech, because they are leading a lot of the in-service training for law enforcement in the area. That's something we can look at to get more. First off is being aware of the issues and how to address it. And I think, yeah, but yes, it needs more training.
So, Mr. McCullough is right. There is mandated training by the state of Oklahoma. Every law enforcement officer in the state has to take at least 2 mental health hours, as well as other training hours. Currently in our office, we have a flyer on the bulletin board for a free website. Those guys can go, our deputies can take as much training as they want to. There is, like I said, a minimum, but the sky's the limit as far as the amount of training they can do. I have been approached to bring some additional training to Woods County, and currently I've checked with our MCAT team, and the coordinator of that is supposed to be checking into classes because they have a ton of money that we can spend to train deputies and train officers and things like that. So currently she's looking at a few options to bring more substantial training to Woods County versus just what's offered online for free that people would probably take them before.
I'd like to, yes, Stuart?
Okay, this is going back to the school shootings and stuff. How closely is law enforcement intertwined with our schools? Because I know at the high school some things have been taken very lightly, and there's not always an officer there that I've seen. Now, I have seen multiple different officers there, and I know they can't be everywhere all at once. But is there anything like you guys can touch on with that?
So Alva has their own resource officers. They do have 2. Can the sheriff's department supplement that? Absolutely. Whether it's more training, that would be a Alva Police Department issue, more on that, because that's kind of their agency. As Freedom concerned, there was a resource officer in the last year because I was the resource officer. The governor mandated that every trooper in the state, and we're shorthanded, it's 1 hour a week. That's not a lot. But that little bit of interaction when you go between classes and don't get me wrong, I did more than an hour because I would go to ball games or what other events. You get to know the kids and you interact with them. They learn to build trust and know you. You start, like I said, we go back to public relations. They start building that connection with you. They're more likely to tell you something because they trust you. Trust is a big issue in law enforcement. Again, I say I'm data driven. Statistics show that when a community doesn't trust their law enforcement, half of major crimes go unreported because they're not going to do anything about it, so I'm not even going to tell them about it. And when we build that trust, people start more likely to tell us what happened, that we're going to take action, we're going to do something. And so we just have to make it a point. And again, we're busy on other things, but we have to take that time and start building a little bit of community or public trust or student trust, I guess.
I know a lot of it is communication and a lot of it goes to the school board. But, we have a lot of safety concerns at the school, to say the least. And it's not all something like an officer could do. But I was just kind of seeing, like, what your views were on it.
So, like Mr. McCullough said, Alva, Winoka do have their own SROs. We do help when requested. There has been times that the SRO or school resource officer has requested our help in one thing or another. It's not very common, but it does happen. Another thing, like Mr. McCullough said, was building relationships. I know personally, there are times I walk through the schools. I wouldn't say it's extremely often, but it has happened. Especially in my kids' schools. Obviously, I'm there for different things or programs or things like that. There are times I'm at the high school. As far as working with y'all, I'm pretty sure the majority of teachers in the school system have my cell phone number. They call me for things. They call me for questions. They will tell me things that maybe they don't feel comfortable telling other people. So I feel like, and I'm not the only one that they do that to. I'm sure they do that to other law enforcement officers as well, and others. I know they do it to other sheriff's deputies. So I think we have a very good relationship as it stands now with the schools. If the SROs requested more help, we would definitely be there to support them. Mr. McCullough said he was the the SRO for Freedom, he was there at least 1 hour a week, and that helped us out tremendously. It honestly did. I hope if we're able to get, or when we open up the Freedom office and we have a deputy there, that number of the hours that a deputy is going to spend in the school will increase greatly. I would like to see deputies in the Freedom School, and not just that, also Winoka, and maybe helping out Altamore, or just walking through. But I would like to see them spend more time in the schools, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah, again, on part of your question is, you were talking about not taking it seriously.
Yeah.
We have to, whether they
Yes.
did or not, we have to. Now, we hold somebody accountable, but we don't have to hold it against them later on.
Yes.
If we make correction and stuff. But we do have to take it seriously. And like I said, whether it was a joke or not, sometimes there has to be punishment for that, because that's not a joking matter. You hold them accountable, but we can also, again, we build that relationship with our kids and stuff like that. We can help them go forward from that point, and it's not like a black mark on their records from here on out. So we do build that, but we do have to take it seriously.
Yes, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
I just think some school members don't take it as seriously as things should be taken. And I'm not sure how the school board stands with some things. So, I mean, that is a conversation
Yeah.
Well,
that could be
ultimately, if it
had.
doesn't get reported.
There's nothing they can do about it if they
Correct.
don't
I mean,
know.
And it doesn't have to be a teacher report. It doesn't have to be a principal. Any student can report any crime 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to law enforcement, and it will be investigated. Given we are going to go talk to the teachers and find out what happened, or talk to the principal and talk what happened, but don't think, and I know you're a high school student,
Yeah.
but don't think that only a teacher can report something. If you have a problem, you call. If it's an emergency, you call 911. If it's not, you call the administrative line, and somebody within one of the law enforcement agencies in Woods County is going to investigate it.
Is it JP or PJ? You know what, any of them. AP?
I believe it's important to have a lot of contacts as a sheriff. You both have been in law enforcement for 20-plus years. Can you explain just a little bit of contacts that you might have? And I'm talking OSBI, FBI, just any contacts that you might have.
So we have all kinds of resources available to us, from OBN to help with drug investigations and stuff, OSBI. So to counter where we started as being more investigations, we need to utilize the resources we have more. That kind of helps free up. If we've got a major crime, normally they call OSBI, but we can use them a little bit more. That helps us free up manpower or get it back on the road. It's still ultimately our case, but you have to work closely with them. Like I said, several of your state agencies that are available. District attorneys has a investigator. We have to work with the surrounding counties, and we have to maintain a good connection and respect for each other, because sometimes they don't want to work with us and they don't trust us. OBN, I know the OBN agent hasn't been here for I don't know how long, and it's because he doesn't think that, whether it's the district attorney's office or officers, feel like things haven't, trying to be nice about it, but they don't come over anymore. Can we work with them better and help build that relationship to where they want to help us more? Yes. So we do have to build those connections and maintain a good relationship with all the agencies around, but all those that support us. So Highway Patrol, OSBI, OBN, all the other letters that we might think of.
So law enforcement contacts can actually make or break an investigation, and make or break an office, actually. in my time of doing investigations and being a deputy sheriff, I've made numerous law enforcement contacts, from the Highway Patrol to surrounding agencies, to OBN, to OSBI, to the U.S. Marshals, to the ATF, to the Secret Service. Typically, there is someone that somebody knows. I've built a lot of those relationships. I have a lot of them on my phone that I can call, and within a short time, I get a call back. Not to just talk bad about another agency, and that's definitely not my intentions at all. Mr. McCullough says that OBN doesn't work in Woods County. In the time that I have been here, they have worked here. Do they work here a whole bunch? Not really. I mean, they kind of stay in some of the other counties. Have they been here recently? I would say they've been here more recent than most people think, than most people know. But we do work with other agencies. We have those contacts with surrounding agencies as well as state and federal agencies. I feel like we have a good relationship with the majority of the agencies, all the way from local all the way to federal.
Thank you.
Do you not think reputation has to do with that? Why other agencies don't want to work with people in Woods County?
I would assume it does, but I don't know what, I mean, they work here. I mean, other agencies do work in Woods County.
Is it going to be a priority for both of you to, I know you both say, but contact and reaching out and all of that, is that going to be a big priority for you? If you win, you're going to put that as a big priority to reach out there, get trust back, get working relationships with people around Alva and, you know, the surrounding. It's not just the city. The city is pretty much mandated by police. We'll deal with that when we have police, you know, hirings and firings. So I know that's going to be a big priority for you, all this relationship and all this ongoing. Is it going to change what is going, if you get reelected, if you get elected, not reelected, but if you get elected, are you going to make some changes?
I have every intention on making changes. I will say I don't, and maybe I'm not being made aware of it. The previous sheriff was here for a long time. I don't feel like the trust was lost in the sheriff's office. I know that there are things that we can improve on and that I intend on improving on. I know there are things that we could do better, and we will do better. I mean, we have to. Yeah, public relations and being better deputies or better law enforcement officers, who's going to say, no, I'm not going to do that? You know, that's what you want everyone to be. You want everyone to grow every day and learn every day. So yes, I mean, we will get better, we will be better, and hopefully one day we can be the best in Northwest Oklahoma.
I just want to make sure it's a priority.
It is.
There's a lot of,
So my mission statement when I ran for office, and one of the reasons I ran for office is to build that. I think I have the track record showing that I have. I've had numerous times and several people that call me to report something or ask me, what can you do? Because they don't have that trust. That's why I ran. So I have that track record of building that. So now we need somebody in leadership that sets that example and requires that out of their men.
okay.
And yes, that is a priority.
Okay.
And if it was a
Time will
priority,
tell with either one of you. I mean, whoever
Yes.
gets out there, time will tell. But
that has
I
been,
just want to know that's a big major priority for both of you.
it is a major priority, because when we build that trust, it makes our job easier, because people trust us, they tell us more. When I worked at a police department, I learned that early on. There were some elderly couples in town that had scooters that rode all over town, and they saw and knew everybody and saw what was going on, and they were my best informants. I even got Christmas cards from them because we had that relationship. But so, yes, I have done that. I want to bring that. That is one of the biggest priorities, is to build that trust and do that and lead by example and serve our community, not just we're not here just to be law enforcement. And I'm trying to be nice, but they've had time to do that. It's not the
Most
it's
of
not,
us have
it's
been
not the sheriff's
citizens here for
department, it's not the
years, yeah.
sheriff's responsibility. It should be, take the initiative.
Everybody.
It wasn't required from the patrol for me to do that. I took the initiative and did that. So, yes, it is a priority.
Okay, thank you.
I might comment on that too, if you don't mind. Mr. McCullough says that officers called him and said, I need to report this, or what do I do here? Every cop gets those calls. Every first responder gets a call. What do I do? Instead of calling 911, because they don't want it to be in the paper, they don't want to see that Keith Dale called in to ask a question. They don't want to see their name in the paper. They don't want to see that if someone's dispatched to their house, they don't want to see their address. So every cop gets those calls. Is everybody going to love every officer? Absolutely not. That's just the nature of the business. So they might call someone they feel more comfortable with to ask a question versus calling somebody else. My phone rings all the time when people are calling me and asking questions. I will always answer. I will always do the best to answer the question. If I can't, I'll give them to someone that can answer the question. But like I said, every cop, every first responder gets those calls.
I think people look towards law enforcement just in general as going to that, for that, calling somebody. And now, but everybody knows everybody. You're going to call a friend, you're going to call, you know. I was just wanting to know, you know, kind of the priorities of you and what's going to, you know, you guys, each of you, and what we will see, so.
And my phone number is dang near public knowledge. It is now especially. You know, everyone has my phone number. I'm sure a lot of people have Mr. McCullough's phone number as well. And sometimes you get calls in the middle of the night. Do you get frustrated with them? Absolutely. But am I glad that people can call me and ask a question or say, what do I do? Or this is going on. How can I, how can I help somebody else? I take great pride that I'm a lot of people's first call, honestly.
Before the candidates do their closing statements, I would like to thank you all for coming, and hopefully both candidates will stay. And if you want to talk to one of them or both of them one-on-one, this is an opportunity. Okay, thank you for coming, and since Mr. McCullough spoke first, we'll let Mr. Dale speak.
You all have great questions, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I do thank y'all for being here. I know there's a lot of other things going on, but you guys took the time out to care enough to come and listen to us, and I appreciate that. Again, I've been here. I know the sheriff's office. I know county government. I know the citizens of Woods County, and I know what they need. This is my home. It will always be my home. I care a lot about Woods County. My kids are going to be raised here, and Lord willing, my grandkids will be raised here one day. Mr. McCullough had a career with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. He earned his retirement, and I don't want to discredit that at all. Any person that's been in law enforcement 29 years deserves a retirement. He's got a few years on me. I've been doing it for 24, but I would like to stay here. I would like to work here as long as I can until I reach retirement and continue to serve the citizens of Woods County. So I respectfully ask for your vote in November for sheriff.
Mr. McCullough?
Again, thank you for everybody for being here. Did I have to retire? No. I looked at the needs, and again, building public trust and building that back in law enforcement, because it's not just here, it's nationwide. But in a small communities like ours, or we're a large county, but small community atmosphere, I guess. Trust me, I didn't realize how big the county was until I was going house to house and trying to hit all of it. It is very large. But with building that trust back, so that people, and to serve more again, the people here made this our home. There was, I mean, I can't think of any place else I want to live. Man, my kids, both of my boys weren't born here, but we've got 4 now, and this is home for them, wherever we are. But that's why if you promote for the patrol, you go to Enid. Or if you promote more than that, you go to Oklahoma City. I wanted to serve the citizens here, and if I was to just quit the patrol, I couldn't afford to pay my bills for what the sheriff is, because it's a significant pay cut. But I'm at a position in my life to where, with a retirement, I can do this job, and it's a challenge. It's something I'm looking at, not that this is all I've got. I'm here to do a job and a challenge to improve that community relation, to build back trust, and to serve the citizens of Woods County much better.
Thank you for coming.
Do you have an intention of getting together again before it is election? Are there going to be any more civic things that you may be speaking at or doing? I just feel like you need to reach more people. I'm one of them that's
I
very
would be-
disappointed
I mean-
in attendance tonight, but.
Yeah, I know, we're here because we were asked to be here. I know there have been, I'm looking at doing a couple other things.
Okay, so you're
Anywhere I'm
going to reach
at.
out to other places to say, I'll be glad to talk,
Yes.
gatherings, that kind of
Yes,
stuff?
we have.
And
I
put it
think-
in the paper rather than a little 2-inch by 2-inch thing?
I think both of us have talked to
We've
other
talked to other civic groups. I talked with
It needs to
the,
be,
I talked with the Republicans, being that I am a Republican, but I'm not running just for Republican, I'm running for everybody. So I reached out to the Democrat Party to see if they all wanted to speak to them, and that's where this kind of,
I could have several
Acts
things,
too.
this, are they going to speak any place, I go, I have
Yes.
no idea. I just feel like y'all need to know if it's advertised more or more things. And there's homecoming up, there's going to be all kinds of things you can set out and do. And I just think you need to reach more people.
I think you'll see both of us in the community a lot more, as closer to the election and afterwards as well. I can start to speak.
28 minutes. Oh, wait, no, 38 minutes.